You know what, Sam?
What?
I think this team's going to be okay.
I think they will. All right, we're back with another episode of the Caniac Report, and it's been a while since our last episode, Sam, but we are back. Remember, we did not have an episode for Friday, but that's because of Thanksgiving, and we do want to say well, at least we hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
I
Now we're in the Christmas season.
Yes, we are, which means I get to play some Christmas music inside our apartment, Sam.
Mm. Mm.
What?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
For those of you who don't know, Sam's the Scrooge between us when it comes to Christmas.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Whatever. But what? Yeah, whatever. But we again, Thanksgiving's passed. We
Yep.
hope you had the opportunity to spend time with family or do what you wanted to do at least for Thanksgiving. So another thing too is we have a link for donations. So if you want to donate to us, there is a link for that in both our YouTube descriptions and in our traditional podcast descriptions. And I believe that's pretty much it for podcast news. Oh, another thing too, we've done 2 giveaways opportunities this month for November, and because of that, we're probably not going to be doing one for December, but we'll most likely resume for January. Sam
Yep.
and I already figured all this out before the season started, so
Yeah, just keep an eye out. Because listen to the podcast because that's where we'll announce it. But congratulations to both of our winners. So one got a win, one got a loss, but it's okay. And just keep paying attention because we'll keep doing the giveaways. And we used to do them a lot on X, but we like to reserve the giveaways now for those who listen to the podcast.
yes, especially with the amount of followers that we have on our social media, uh, they don't really match to those that actually listen to our episodes. So that's why, for those who do listen to us, we like to give you guys a clear advantage in those ticket giveaways. So let's get on to some NHL stuff, Sam. Quite a bit of stuff has happened in terms of trades. One of them, Pittsburgh, again, Kyle Dubas, he is trying to make this team get younger. And I think that's what he should do.
Yeah.
But not obviously not at the expense of Crosby or Malkin, probably, or Letang, even to some extent. And you probably can't trade Crosby and Letang based on those contracts.
Yeah, it would be hard. Well, Crosby you could probably move, regard because he's still playing really good. Letang's contract is the hard one to move, and so is Malkin's. But they're movable, and there are teams out there who could definitely utilize their skill. It would shock me a lot more to see Crosby get moved than it would to
It
see
would.
Letang or Malkin get moved because I could see them doing what they can to move those two. But in reality, they're in that situation because they gave Malkin and Letang, specifically Letang, a really bad contract because
Oh,
it's a
they did.
bad contract. It is a horrible contract. It is probably the worst contract on Pittsburgh right now. And they have Henrik and they have Erik Karlsson, but Erik Karlsson he's young-ish. He's not old. He's not an old defenseman yet. I think he's like early 30s, if my memory serves, like 31 or something like that. So Carlson's still a very capable player, but Letang is very. Letang's old, and I think he signed like a 5-year deal or something like that. It was some ridiculous number.
Carlson is 34 years old.
Okay, so he's still not. I mean, he's still capable, and he's got 100 points 2 seasons ago. So the dude's still playing well. He's not the problem there. And San Jose, if I remember correctly, retained some on that deal. So it's not like Pittsburgh's paying the full blown contract.
True, but they get younger by getting Philip Tomasino. Again, I don't know if this is going to work. You can tell Kyle Dubas is trying to get some projects in. Like another project was a former Hurricane player, for a brief period of time, and yes, they pull Yarvi.
Yep.
But
Who has
Pittsburgh's
scored
not
against
having
us?
a good season though. Regardless, they're not. They're one of the worst teams, I believe, right now.
Yeah, they're having a tough year. I mean, I'm sure teams are going to call about Malkin, Letang, Crosby, because that's called doing your due diligence. Crosby has all of the power there, so if he wants to leave, he can. Um, I don't think that'll ever happen. I know some people like to talk about it. For whatever reason, it's for Crosby to go to Colorado. I, I don't see why Colorado personally. I don't think that makes a lot of sense for him. If he's wanting to win a Stanley Cup, that's not the destination to go. Uh, not with their goaltending situation that they have there. I would say they're pretty similar to Carolina. They have a goalie that's just struggling beyond relief, beyond anything right now in Georgiev.
Yeah, I
But
agree, and that's a good segue into what they did. They did trade for a goalie in Scott Wedgwood.
Yeah, solid backup. Gonna probably provide some relief to Georgiev.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, Sam, when I saw that trade, I was like, Colorado only had to give up a draft pick, 6th-round pick, so not a lot of value with that, along with a prospect that's probably not a lot of value with it either. And I was just like, if you're able to get Scott Wedgwood for something that cheap, I mean, to me, that's kind of a point at the Hurricanes management being like, listen, it's achievable to at least get a NHL goalie. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I do. I know we have some friends over at Sessions, Caniac Sessions, who feel we would get gouged in the market. But I think there's goalies out there that teams would be willing to move on from who are
I
in
do
the
too.
minors. I keep saying Jack Campbell. Everyone boo-hoos that, but I think Jack Campbell is what makes the most sense because I think he's the cheapest. Anything else out there that's being talked about would cost a lot more, but Jack Campbell is league
I
minimum
heard
right
Ville
now.
Husso too.
I don't know what his contract is. I'd have to actually look at it, but you have to because you have to look at what's their cap hit, what's the term, what's your thought here? Is this a goalie between Martin and Peretz? Is this a goalie between Kochetkov and Martin? Are you looking for a goalie to come in and be a starting goalie? I mean, right now, I don't think this team needs a goalie to come in and be the guy. I think you've got Kochetkov. If you wanted to get a 1B goalie, in anticipation of Freddie Anderson not coming back, I don't know if this is the time to make that move. For me, it's just a matter of, all right, go out, grab someone who can play, who's played, who's capable of kind of swapping in and out with Martin if worst case happens, because now we have Kochetkov, who seems to get hurt every season, like Freddie Anderson. So you kind of need, as long as Anderson and Kochetkov are your 1 and 2, you need to have a 3 and 4, where in a lot of teams, you really just need a 3, right? I think because of the injury history on this team, you need 4. And I think right now, again, I know his numbers aren't very good, but this team does have a history of bringing in goalies who have struggled. I think the only
Mrazek, Curtis McElhinney.
Yep, James Reimer.
James Reimer. Yep.
So this team does it, and because of how we play, I think it would be a good situation for Jack Campbell to come into. I think it makes a lot of sense for him. He gets to play some games but I mean, right now it's going to be Kochekhov's coming back probably on Tuesday against the Kraken. I bet he plays Tuesday. I hope he plays Tuesday.
I hope he does too. I mean, we'll get to the games and what we think about Martin in our specifically what we think about Martin and probably our Hurricanes news thing. But with that addition of Wedgwood, it does make you wonder about the prices of these goalies on the market with both our goalies being hurt.
Yeah, and again, it's just a matter of are our friends over at Caniac Sessions right, and that the value for these goalies are going to be unnecessarily high. I don't agree with that. I agree if you're trying to get a starting goalie, but I don't agree with that if you're looking to get the backups to the backup. I think those prices are all going to be pretty stagnant and pretty much the same, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't much to give when it came to Wedgwood, and he's an NHL goalie. He's played numerous games.
Yeah, so I mean, if that's the case and they do charge us more, what does that mean? Instead of a 6, we got to give up a 4th. And I'm like, okay, give them the 4th.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not drafting high at that point anyway. Like at that point, it's just a shot in the dark if you're going to get something. So why not go get something that helps you right now when this team is just, I mean, they're on, like, we've been on fire. So the question's going to be, like one, if Martin plays Tuesday and it's not Kochetkov and we lose, does that wipe out the 3 wins that we had? Because now we would have lost 3 in a row, right? Because it was Dallas won, Rangers won, and who did we play before Dallas? Or was that a loss too?
The Dallas game we won.
Before
It's the
Dallas,
two. It's just Columbus. Which we
we've
lost in the
lost. So right now, in
and
our
New
last
Jersey
4,
we lost in regulation.
So in our last 5, we are 2-2-1.
Yep.
I believe. So in our last 5, 2-2-1. So we're 500. That's fine given the situation that we're in, and we built up a decent lead in the standings between us and a non-playoff team. So we're not in a bad spot, and we beat divisional teams and the Rangers this week, which was huge for us. But I mean, I'm sure we'll talk more about the standings and the points later, but I don't want to get too into that. But
yeah, I don't either. Another thing too, Sam. This is the last thing for NHL news is that there was a big trade involving David Jiricek.
Yep.
And I think the start of this was Columbus claiming Dante Fabro because he is a right-handed defenseman, just like Jiricek. And there's all the speculation of him possibly getting traded, and it finally happened. He got traded to Minnesota.
Yep.
And I mean,
Columbus got a very nice return.
I thought Columbus got a good return too. So here's the full trade right here. Traded to Minnesota for Damian Hunt and 4 draft picks. Those 4 draft picks are a first round pick in 2025, which is top 5 protected, a 3rd and 4th round picks in 2026, and a 2nd round pick in 2027. Minnesota also receives a 5th round pick. And now, is this first round pick for this year going to be high for Columbus? No,
Nope.
because Minnesota's playing excellent. But the fact you're able to get all these draft picks for a guy like David Jiricek could really pay off.
And it's still a first round pick. Look, we got Bradley Dedeaux like last in the first round. Sebastian Aho, I think, was drafted in the 2nd round. So, I mean, if it's a good draft, that pick can be something, right? Like Mike Maniscalco talks about this a lot when it comes to draft time. It's darts on a dartboard, right? After you get out of the top, between 5, after you get out of the top between 5 and 10, it's really just, let's throw the dart at the dartboard because we really don't know, right? There's not a lot of difference between pick number 15 and pick number 30. So it's just a matter of like what the team's needs are, right? So like if Carolina, for the longest time, we needed defense because guess what we drafted every time in the first round? There was a defenseman. Look at Ryan Murphy, Jake Bean, Hayden Fleury, right? Noah Hannafin. All those were first round draft picks for the Hurricanes, and none of them now are on the team, which is like, but it's still, you have a lot of darts, and Columbus is going to have a lot of darts. They're not that good. Their first round pick's going to be very high, but this is a skilled team. They're not far off from making that jump. So, if they get a lot of talent in these drafts, they're probably 2 years away from being a playoff team, probably a regular playoff team, I would say. 2 max.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see how that goes. And I kind of think of this trade a little bit similar to the Jeff Skinner trade. Yeah, we got lots of picks, but look who we drafted with those picks: Nikishkin, Kochetkov. This could really help Columbus. So we'll see how that trade turns out. This is definitely a long-term type of trade for Columbus.
Yeah,
and somewhat of a long-term trade for Minnesota too, because Jiricek hasn't lived up to his potential yet. But it's more of a wait and see.
Yeah, it is. And Don Waddell making moves, former Hurricane GM.
Yes, exactly. So, you know what? Let's get to one of our sponsors, and then let's get to some Hurricanes news and maybe a couple games too.
Okay.
Well, good thing I looked at the Hurricanes website during this ad break because It's something to add for our Hurricanes news thing. And Martin H. Sam is named NHL's first star of the month for November.
Really?
Yes, he is. The
Good
forward
for
is
him.
he's the sixth player in team history recognized as Player of the Month.
I'm guessing what? Skinner, Stahl, Brindamore? Maybe Aho?
Um, I'm kind of looking. The fifth time a Hurricanes player has been named the league's Player of the Month. Oh, the fifth time. Oh, since 2006, 2007. Anton Kudobin, January
Oh,
of 2014.
that's right.
Cam
He had a
Ward,
late month. No, yeah.
March of 2009. Um, Another goalie, Archers Urbe, was NHL's Player of the Month in October 1998. And Eric Stahl
Stahl.
in October of 2005.
Okay. Good for Natchez. When you are the league leader in points, because as far as I know, he is still the league leader in points. You deserve to be the player of the month. And you deserve to be in the
Yeah.
conversation for the Hart Trophy. You just do.
He
Because
should at least be a finalist.
Yeah, and you should. You should be that when you're leading your team in points and you're leading the league in points and you have proven that you're worth your salt. And Natchez has done that, and he's earned this opportunity. He's earned the rights to have these accolades, and I can't wait to see him keep doing it. I mean, it'd be awesome to finally have a player that's over 100 points because we haven't had that since Eric Stahl.
And that was the year we won the cup, too.
So, look, we talked a lot about not having someone who can score, right? We talked a lot about having someone who just couldn't pile up the points, and that teams that won cups have those players. So maybe we finally have that. Maybe Natchez is finally hitting his full potential, and we've got that player who can rack up the points and just make everyone around him a better player. And I think at that point, all you really need is just someone who can maybe finish a little bit better. But
Yeah.
other than that, I think you've got your guy. You've got your elite talent offensively. So I don't, when it comes to the
It's just a
forward
matter
groups,
of paying him now to a long-term deal.
look, you get that done this offseason. You do. You get it done this offseason. If you take it to the deadline of next year, you got to trade him. And you got to do it during the deadline because this team won't get it done. I have zero faith that this organization, Eric Tulsky and company, can get that deal done the offseason before he is a UFA. Again,
I agree.
And I think their track record shows it. And I'm not saying this is on Tulsky for not being able to get it done. I'm saying this is obviously on Dundon because in general, we don't get that done. It doesn't get done. If it's not done the year before, it doesn't happen. Right? Brett Pesce, Brady Shea didn't get done the year before when you could work on it. They're gone, right? Ducky Hamilton, he's gone. Jake Gensel could have done the deal as soon as you made the trade, didn't do it, he's gone. And it's just how this team operates. And if they don't sign Marty Natchez before trade deadline of next year, you move him, right, to get something back that you're willing to put the money on. And if that's the case, then I think this front office is a bunch of morons. But
I do too.
You got to give the man, sign him. And my biggest fear in this, and I'll say this, I feel as though this team has zero appetite on paying anybody more than Aho. And if Natchez is racking up points like this, he's going to want to get paid more than Aho. So the question is this organization
here's the
willing to
thing
pay him
with
more?
this salary cap going up again, player agents are going to be going off percentage, not money. They're going off percentage of the salary cap. So eventually Hurricanes are going to have to do that, or else they're going to be biting the bullet on decreasing the quality of this team, because they're eventually going to have to. As the salary cap goes up, player salaries are going to go up. That's just how it works.
Yeah, so again, we'll see what happens. The Dundon era has not been kind to getting your UFAs handled.
No, they have not.
I think the only instance where it's happened has been Slavin and Aho, in my memory serves correct, of people who were here and we got done and installed. But that was always going to happen as well. Martinook, that's always like a last second thing where it looks like he's going to go and then it gets done. But in general, like big name players, like we don't spend the money. I mean, in Pesci's case, I wouldn't have spent that kind of money.
Well, in Hamilton's case, I wouldn't have either.
Yeah, but from what I understood, Hamilton wasn't asking 9 from us. He was asking something lower, but we offered him 6.5, which is an insulting offer as well. So it's like, okay, well, maybe if we offered him 7.5, maybe that would have made sense for us. And that's
I don't know about
I think fair.
7.
But
I don't know about 7 for Hamilton, just because even though he has a good offensive read to the game, his defensive side is a lot to be desired.
Well, you pair him with Slavin and you're fine.
Yeah,
I'm saying
I know,
a 7 to 7.5. If you offered that, it's not embarrassing like 6 and 6.5, which is what we offered him. And then when you see he gets 9, it's like, yeah, we really under offered him, and that's why I went to New Jersey. And I don't begrudge players for getting paid. I don't.
Just don't drag it like Gensel.
Yeah, no, that's the thing there. Jake Gensel, I still believe negotiated in bad faith. And I think that's something I wanted to mention in our league news, and I'll mention it here. But the GMs had a meeting, Sam. I'm not sure if you've listened to the 32 Thoughts that was released on Friday yet.
No, I have
but
not.
I've been listening to it today as I've kind of been going through some stuff and driving around. It was said that the Bill Daly told the GMs and the owners, and he put them on notice, and he said, no tampering. He said, this is your warning. We will punish you if we catch it. And
I like that, actually.
So if all those who complained that there was tampering with Gensel, again, something happened and they didn't get a specific reason, but apparently the league didn't like that a lot of these deals were done at 12:01.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can see why from an entertainment standpoint on free agency. But I did see like the penalties if they did that. Like for a player, it was like, I think, what was it, 1 million? But for the teams, it was like draft picks they could lose
5 million.
5 million. So yeah.
And Elliot told a story about a team in the NBA. So this is basketball, but where they made an example of a team. That team, when there was tampering there, that team lost 5 first-round draft picks, and the owner and the general manager were suspended. So I'm saying the league can punish you. And I'm just saying, if you were upset about Jake Gensel and felt there was tampering with Gensel, with Pesci, with Shea, whatever, maybe next year that won't happen. They won't get, maybe that will be something that's nipped a little bit. But I don't know, right? But again, either way,
1 year too late, right?
Yeah, and maybe that helps you kind of walk Natchez up a little bit closer to the free agency window. But you should do that. Just get it done. He's your best player, your best offensive player. You cannot give up a possible. Again, if you end the season and he scores 100 points, yes, you made a massive mistake by not doing a long-term deal this offseason. Now you're going to have to pay him.
Yep, I agree. Another thing, Sam, is since our last episode, there was an update on Kochetkov, and it was the fact that he was considered more day-to-day than being out completely for a long time with a concussion. Now, it's still inconclusive when he's going to come back. Like, we don't know for certain that he's coming back Tuesday, but we might have that feeling that he is. So we'll see how that happens. But, I mean, with Spencer Martin, I saw a comment, and I thought that was a very good comment on Spencer Martin. A third string goalie should not play a full week's worth of NHL games.
Yeah, no, and like Spencer Martin played very bad against Florida Friday night. You can't blame him for the Saturday game because you didn't score. He kept you in it against Dallas. He kept you in it against New York. And you went 2-2 against the best of the best in the league. And I'm not going to,
But his best game was against Ottawa. We all know it was against Ottawa. And even in those games where we lost, like the team in front of him weren't doing good, and he was making good saves, but at the same time as him making good saves, he was letting in soft goals, even against the Rangers, even against Florida. Like, yes, he was making great saves, but he was also letting in some bad goals.
Look, at the end of the day, we beat the Rangers because we almost lost to the Rangers because they had Shesterkin and we didn't. I mean, that's just how that is, right? Because I don't
Yep.
think the Rangers played very good. I think we actually played pretty good against New York, but they had Shesterkin and we had Spencer Martin. Um, and then you played Florida on Friday, and I think you lose. I think the team in front of him wasn't very good, but I think you may have still had a chance if you have a different goalie in that game, right? You
Yeah.
probably should find a way to win Friday against Florida at home, and then Saturday
And
you don't score, and that's just not on the goalie at all. You
no,
can
it's
lose
not.
10-0, and that's not on the goalie because you didn't put anything in the net.
But I mean, now Kochetkov played against Columbus, but he
Yeah.
let in soft goals there too. So even with Kochetkov back, I still think they need a goalie because I don't think he solidified himself yet as a starting goalie for the
And
way
I
he's
think
played this season.
the real conversation again is just, and it depends on who you talk to. It's
And
what kind of
I'm starting to blame some of this on management now, especially with how Brendan Moore is like, I will die before I play Peretz on the ice.
so, and I think that tells you a lot um, about what Brendan Moore is doing. Um, that tells you that he wants another goalie as well.
And I still don't like our center depth, but that's a whole nother
This team's
conversation.
not gonna, no, they're not gonna do anything about the center depth, and I've come to that realization honestly. But the best thing for this organization to do right now is just go get a goalie. At that point, you just need to have that conversation within the management circles that they have. Is like, all right, do we need a guy who's going to come up and do 1A, 1B with Kochetkov? Or are we wanting a goalie between Martin and Peretz or between Kochetkov and Martin? I think Martin's a very serviceable backup to Kochetkov right now, but I think what you can't have happen is Kochetkov to get hurt again and then have to rely on Martin again for extended periods of time.
And here's the thing: the team's not playing well in front of him, so it's not
No,
all on him. On
no,
all
no.
of these games, there have been bad turnovers, a lot of 2-on-1 rushes against us. Like we just haven't been playing well defensively.
Well, yeah. If you look at our last five, we're 2-2-1. We're 500 against Columbus, New York, Dallas, Florida. And this was a very tough stretch of 4 games, and you went 2-2. Um, you won 2 out of 3 at home. You've lost your last two road games. You got points in 3 straight, right? Columbus, Dallas, New York. But I think if you're a fan and you're concerned, I think you have a just reason to be concerned because you might have won against Dallas and New York, but you went down pretty big in both of those games because of poor puck management. You found a way to come back and win because you're a good hockey team, right? But guess what? In the playoffs, that might not be the case. So a lot of this needs to be shored up before you get to the postseason. But at the end of the day, we're still one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. We were number 1 in the Eastern Conference for a little while, number 1 in the Metro, just behind New York, just behind Winnipeg. We have a
And
sizable lead.
we weren't expecting this. So with
No,
knowing that, you do have some padding in there.
you've got padding, and then you have to wonder too: is this a correction to what this team should be? Right? Are we more of this team that we've seen recently, or is this just we're in a funk? And I think that what that's going to play out as we go through the next couple weeks is we're going to see: are we more of that 500 team that we were in the last week, or are we going to go back to our winning ways? And it's just we'll see what happens. We have 2 home games, I believe.
Yep.
Seattle, and I don't know who the other
Colorado.
one. Oh, well, that's going to be those aren't too easy. Those are those 2 teams. They're good teams. So those are challenges again, right? So Colorado has Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, who will be a future Hurricane, and it's going to be it's not easy. The schedule didn't just get easier, right? Maybe Seattle's easier than the last 4 games we played. But guess what? They're still an NHL franchise, and if you turn the puck over to them, they're still a fast, skilled hockey team, and they're going to score.
Yeah, I agree, and I also think another thing too is, uh, I think it'd do some good for the Hurricanes to have a bit of a resting period
Yeah.
too, just because of the amount of games.
Well, well, I mean, we've kind of already been briefly hinting about Dallas. You want to knock that one out real quick?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and do the Dallas game. Now, this Dallas game I was at. It didn't start out great. Um, you had Sagan scoring. Again, a lot of this was just bad puck management. You had
Yeah.
Thomas Harley scoring.
Yep.
And those two goals, I don't really blame on Martin. Obviously, you have Jarvis scoring. I believe that was a shorthanded goal, I believe, because
It was. Yeah.
Aho was able.
Jarvis came back. It was his first game back.
It was his first game back. I was very happy to see Jarvis coming back, and he was able to. I thought that he was the best player that game for Dallas, actually, because he was great. Aho made a slick backhand pass to Jarvis, and Jarvis tried to stay consistent with the backhander type of thing. He backhanded the puck behind Ottinger, and he scores. Obviously, Dallas scores again. It's 2-1 at the end of the first, and then they make it 3-1 with Mason Marchment scoring. I think that's a goal that Martin could have had because it was off the pad and in.
Yeah.
Don't really like that. So I think he could have had that, but the fourth goal in the third period against Heskinainen, he should have had that. I think
Yeah.
he really should have because that was out pretty far wide.
And
But
again, but that just shows you, like, you're down 4-1. The team, yes, they come back and win this game, and we're going to get to those goals. But it's not all on Martin. Like, he may make maybe two of those he should have, but you let it get to that, right? Through turnovers and not getting the puck out. Dallas gets up to 4-1, and you're forcing Martin to have to be the guy who bails you out. And he's a third string goalie. That's not fair to him to expect him to be the one reason you win these games. Like, yes, you would like a goalie to steal a game for you, but it's not. Martin's not going to steal games for you. That's not why he's there.
he stole one game, and that
Yeah.
was the Ottawa game.
Well, I think we played well against Ottawa too.
I did too.
Like, I don't think he was
like
tested overly hard against Ottawa. I can't really think of any unbelievable moments for him. Like, he was good, but I don't think we were pretty good defensively in that game.
Yes. And another thing too, heading into this Dallas game, and we started to see early signs of this, but Aho is finally starting to get production, which is good.
Yep.
And he scores a goal with Jarvis and Orlov getting the assist. I thought that was a good goal. You have Brent Burns scoring his first goal of the season with Stahl and Martinuk as the assist. I mean, Burns unleashed it, which was really good. I'd see him unleash it a little bit more, probably, but he was able to finally get it past Ottinger. And I mean, honestly, some of these Hurricane goals Ottinger probably should have had.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was a good night for goalies.
No, it wasn't.
And they have Ottinger. And that's another point. They have Ottinger. He's one of the best in the league, and he had a bad night. So even good goalies have bad nights. Ask Quick.
Yes, exactly.
Ask he's not like one of the best, but ask Lindgren and Washington. Right? Just because you're in the NHL, you're gonna have a bad night. Lindgren put it in his own net. Quick put it in his own net. I mean, goalies have bad nights. Shesterkin, ask him, Bobrovsky. The goalies have bad nights, and that's just, it doesn't matter how good
reality.
you are. Yeah, you're just off
82
one night.
games.
Yeah, you're not going to be shutting out the team every night. And yeah, I'm critical of Martin, and I think rightfully so critical of Martin, because I don't think he hasn't been good enough. But the team in front of him hasn't been good enough either. So I'm criticizing everybody in that regard. This last week of games, even though you did win this Dallas game, you come back to win this Dallas game, that you should never have been in that position.
Yes. But again, we're able to score again. Gossespierre on the power play. He just lifts it right over the shoulder of Ottinger on the power play. And of course, Heskinainen, he ties it, but then not Gossespierre. Netchus scores on the power play, and what a weird goal that was off off of a Dallas player's skate, and I believe off of Ottinger's skate and up. It was just a weird goal, but
Hey,
Netchus was
you work
able
for
to
your
get the goal.
bounces. You work for your
Yes, you
bounces.
do. And then Svetch gets the empty nets, so 6-4 win right there. Good for Carolina. Another thing too that I've noticed with I think all these games have in common, Carolina goes down and they come back.
Yep.
Can't be in a formula like that. You
No.
just can't. The same thing happens with the next game, which is the Rangers game. And Sam, in that Rangers game, well, actually, you know what? We'll get to the Rangers game after a couple more sponsors. The 24-25 NHL season still has that new. One of the things I like about watching hockey is the physical play we get to see, which is why Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes it easy to see your favorite team, concerts, or shows. One of the upcoming games I am looking forward to is a Canes versus Capitals game in January. And yes, that is my co-host Sam, if you heard him. They have a few super deals that are under $100 in lower level seating. That's why one of my favorite features is the super deal. Remember, you can also get a view from your seat in the app before you apply. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. The 24-25 NHL season still has that new car smell, and the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
Okay, Sam. So that Rangers game, again, we were down and able to come back and win. But in the
Yes.
first period, we get a player that hasn't scored in a while, and I was happy to see him score, and that is Jack Drury. He gets an assist from Natchez and Orloff. And I thought in this game, Sam, I thought what was really evident. I know you were at this game, I believe, with your dad, but Natchez can make very good passes. My gosh.
Yeah.
He just can.
That's why he's the league leader in points. And even I think Laviolette may have said it before the game. Everything's going right for him right now. So, and it's true. Everything is going right for Natchez right now.
Well, as of the Rangers game, yes. I don't know about after the two Florida games, which we'll get to. But Netris at this point against the Rangers, yes, he's doing fantastic. Orlov gets an assist. But then you have Brodzinski scoring to tie it 1-1 for the Rangers. In the second period, you have Jarvis scoring on the power play. So Jarvis gets 2 games, in 2 games, Jarvis gets 2 goals in his return. So he is really putting up goals. I am happy. And again, great pass from Netchers to Jarvis. That was just such a sick goal.
And I think
But
it's what Adam Gold said that Jarvis he feels like is our most natural goal scorer, and
he is.
he just very well could. Again, I would love to see Jarvis. I still would love to see a line of Jarvis, Aho, and Natchez. I mean, that's just me, but Rod likes to spread the scoring around, so you probably never will see it, but I would like to see that.
I like to see it for one game. I agree in spreading the scoring when it comes to 3 lines, though. Not 4, but 3.
Yeah, well, you get your shutdown line.
Yes. Which I think this team kind of needs a shutdown line when you have Stahl.
And I would also say over the course of these games, I really like Stahl, Martinick, and Carrier. I really haven't had an overall problem with them, even in the losses. Maybe in the Florida game when we lost 6-0, but that might be it.
Yeah, well, it's because they out hustle all the other lines that we have.
Yeah, they
and
keep
to
their
me,
top
it's frustrating.
lines in the other zone.
Yeah, which to me is a little bit frustrating because I'm like, listen, if like Aho, Svetch, like I'm not saying they don't have work ethic, but if they had the same work ethic as Jordan Martinook, the point totals would be insane.
It could be, yeah.
It just would. But obviously, back to the Rangers game, you have Berard and Edstrom scoring, and the Rangers had the lead. It's like, oh no! But in the third period, Carolina comes out and they play very good. I thought the third period was probably their best period against the Rangers. And you have KK scoring on somewhat of a wraparound goal.
Yep. Yeah, so that was a great goal, and it was it was just I love it when KK scores.
Yes, KK's been playing better, but at the same time, I don't know if he still has lived up to that contract.
He's having a better year this year than he did last year so far.
Yes, but also time will tell too with KK. He needs to maintain this throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
Another thing too is Jackson Blake. He is able to get the Canes on top with the power play goal. I mean, Carolina coming into the Florida games, they were good on the power play. They really have been.
Yeah, they were, and it was fun to wave goodbye to all the Rangers fans as they went back to Cary.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was. And didn't you say there was some Rangers fans getting
some
on
idiot.
nerves?
It's just typical Rangers fans trying to pick a fight with a dad in the crowd. It's just like, come on, dude. Go back to New York. We don't want you here. Just leave. Like, don't come to these games anymore. You obviously are nothing more than a blowhard. This is why no one likes their fans. I'm sorry. I don't care. Look, there's a reason we talk crap about Rangers fans. It's because they're rotten to the core. No one respects them. No one likes them. And then they get real butthurt when you complain about them. And I'm like, well, it's because the worst of you show up all the time. All the time. So, yeah, it's agitating. So, yeah, we make fun of you. We will insult you. And you aren't welcome at PNC Arena. So just stay out.
And we know that those are the same fans that put on the Hurricanes jerseys after that game.
All of them were probably at the game against the Panthers wearing a Hurricanes jersey.
Yep.
You're fake fans. We don't want you. Give your season tickets back to the organization and let an actual fan buy them who's going to wear the Hurricanes jersey for all 41 home games. So just stop. I don't like Rangers fans.
I can tell.
I don't like Boston fans either, but I don't know. I hate Rangers fans more than I think Boston now.
I can see why. But Sam, now let's just do the 2 Florida games, and obviously we lose to both of them. I want to keep this brief because we are kind of running out of time. But you lose in both games. I thought in the first period, I'm not even go goal by goal just because it's going to take time. I want this to be brief, but I thought the first period in the first game against Florida was the best period the Canes played, and then it just went downhill from there.
It went downhill from there for all, for all. What you see 2, so through 5 periods from there, right? The 2 at home, and then the next 3 in Florida. You just never found your game.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say the home game against Florida, there were more positive things,
Yes.
obviously. And I mean, Carolina was able to gain momentum and tie it, but then Florida came out in the third and just locked it down, which was a little bit disheartening. And there were a few goals that Martin, I mean, that home game against Florida was Kane's not playing good and Martin playing bad. There were so many goals he could have saved there. That was his. I do think that was his worst game. I really do.
Yeah, it wasn't a good game for him, and it was unfortunate. I guess the team had too much turkey and stuffing the day before. And it is what it is. I mean, really, I'm not freaking out too much. I think there is concern for these two games, and like you said, we'll probably talk about them more generally than specifically. I think there is some concern here because I think it's been what we've seen consistently over these 4 games, right? You go down, you come back against Dallas. You go down, you come back against New York. You go down, are unable to come back against Florida. Go down against Florida, and you're just you're exhausted because you've had to play from behind for 4 straight games, and you couldn't do it in game 3, and you really couldn't do it in game 4. And I think
And
at
that's
that
not a
point,
recipe for success either.
no, because you're not going to be able to do that in the playoffs, go down and win games on a regular basis. Like, this team can do it, and they always believe they can do it, but you always want to be playing ahead. You'd rather be Dallas up 4-1 or 3-1. You'd rather be New York up going into the third, right? You want to be in those positions to lock it down to win. But guess what you didn't do against Florida, right? You were tied and you couldn't get it done. And it's because if you're playing from behind against teams like Florida, New York, and Dallas, more often than not, you're going to lose. And I think going 50-50 on these 4 games, when the same thing happened in all 4, where you're able to make it work in games 1 and 2 against Dallas and New York, couldn't do it both times against Florida.
Yes, and another thing too, especially I've noticed in the 2 Florida games. Listen, I think Gostisbehere has been playing good, especially offensively. I mean, he's leading the team for defensemen in points. He has 19.
Yeah.
But that pair has been atrocious defensively. They just have.
Yeah, I didn't really like Gostisbehere specifically against the Rangers. I thought he made a couple of really bad plays. I also thought Orlov, I think specifically made a horrific play against, I want to think it was was it against Florida? I think
It
it was
could have
against
been
Florida.
Florida.
I think it was against Florida, and I think it was maybe the first goal they scored in the third.
Burns made a horrendous turnover in the first period. I do remember that.
And I think it's important to talk about this because it's evident that these teams, these players are gonna. I mean, it's not all on Martin, right? These are bad turnovers. They're all bad turnovers, and yes, you want your goalie to make a save. Sometimes you need your goalie to make a save when you're not playing good. But I mean, at the end of the day, the team played bad, and I don't think they played good against Dallas, New York, Florida. I don't think we saw the best of this team had to offer. I think you had a good period against Dallas, the third. I think you had a good period against New York, the third. And I think you had a good period against Florida, probably the first or the second. And then you lost badly in the third, and then Carolina just didn't play good against Florida and Florida. I mean, they looked bad all night. Honestly, Spencer Martin kept them in this game through 2. And then once you got to the third, that was just it. The team had nothing left to give, and Spencer Martin got chased out the building.
Yeah, and our backup goalie, Peretz, got to see some game action, but he got scored on too. So,
like I said, the team just wasn't playing good, and it's just they didn't play good.
Yes, they did not play good, but I will admit that third period against Florida on the road, I mean, it wasn't them playing good; it was them giving up.
Yeah, there was nothing left. They had nothing left in the tank. There just wasn't anything there, and and you have games like that, but again, and if you want to argue and say, oh, they played good against New York and Dallas, and I'm going to be like, well, no, you don't go down 4-1 if you're playing good hockey. You played a good period, against Dallas, and that's how you won. And Dallas they imploded on themselves, and then you played New York, and you had a good period in the third, and you won. Right, but you didn't play a good 60-minute game against either of those teams. You played a good period, and you put yourself in a position to have to find a way to come back. And that's the concerning part. You look at trends when you look into hockey, and the trends of this week aren't good, right? It kept getting worse. And you found a way to win against Dallas, and you found a way to win against New York, but you couldn't beat the defending Stanley Cup champions because, well, they're defending Stanley Cup champions for a reason. They've had our number as well, and I think that's a fair thing to point out. But you can't keep playing from behind because you're gonna lose more often than you're gonna win.
Yeah, and also too, like especially with the 2 losses against Florida, I think it's important too to not take too much out of those losses either, which is why I kind of wanted to be brief on this because you can't. Because I thought with those Florida games, in order to talk about them, you had to talk about the full week. So
yeah, and again, I think talking about the full week, you still see some issues rising in their game overall, right? You're playing from behind a lot. You don't want to do that. But I think you have a chance to come home. You play in a couple home games. That's good this week. And
this month is not as jam-packed as
Yeah.
it was in November.
So get a chance to rest. Hopefully get Kochetkov back. You probably still need to go get another goalie just for the sake of having it there, him there. And we'll see. I think this week will be a tell because I think you have 3 games this week. Once Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, right?
Tuesday, Thursday, and then
Saturday is a road game, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep. So just 3 games this week. So
yep.
Hopefully that helps the Hurricanes get some rest, but we'll see.
You get some rest, get some practice, get Kochetkov back on the ice because you need a goalie who is capable of starting. And does Kochetkov let in bad goals? Yes, he does. But he's obviously the better of the 2.
Yes. Well, that's it for this episode. Sam, this is probably one of our longest episodes that we've had this season so far.
Yeah. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving and get ready for the holidays and some hockey this week.
Yeah, and I'll be singing some Christmas carols in my apartment with Sam.
Oh, Lord.
All right. We will see you guys Friday.